If you guys are a fan of the channel, you know that I like to take a look at one ink at a time, really go in depth and see what each ink has to offer in its various colors. But today we're doing something a little different, as we're not taking a look at just one Martiveda USA ink, we're taking a look at two, as they accidentally sent me and let me keep it for free, and being super nice, I think we'll just do a 2-for-1 today. So let's go ahead and roll that awesome intro. What's up guys and welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name is J-Rod of Alpera Productions. I draw Power My Own Soul, and this is part of the series where I take a look at inks and see if they are going to be good for your comic art needs, or if you can use them to create art in general. Ink is my favorite medium to work with. I'm a total ink head and I absolutely love the medium, so I love to explore and try new inks. Now this is a very interesting ink. I picked this up quite a bit ago before I moved back to Tampa, and this is Monteverde USA ink, and this sells for $7.99 for 30 milliliters. Now I actually have two that we're going to be taking a look at, because the Black Ash ink is the original one that I ordered. However, I was sent the Olivine green ink, and they were kind enough to actually just send me a new one and let me keep the old one, so we're going to take a look at those two today. Both of them are $7.99, so I think that's a pretty interesting price, pretty good price for a good amount of ink. It's really interesting because last week we took a look at Deleter, which also advertised that it was 30 milliliters, and yeah, quite a bit different as you can see. This is a glass bottle, this is plastic. They look like they're about the same size. It's really just kind of looks like this has more ink in it, so I'm not sure why that is. Could just be my eyes playing a trick on me, but we're going to take a look at both of them. Really like the design. First off, I love the logo of the mountain and how it changes color with the ink. I think the font's pretty clear, and I like the design of the bottle. I still love how they look. It's just a classical feel to it. No eye drops are interesting. It's something that I do kind of look at and really like to see with my bottles. The overall design of this makes me think that it's a fountain pen ink, and I only think that because the fact that it doesn't have an eyedropper, has a more open top to it, something that's more common with inks that are meant for fountain pens. It also didn't mention if this was actually for fountain pens or dip pens. It was just advertised as a drawing ink, and it also did not advertise if this is waterproof. Something tells me that this is not a waterproof ink and that it's actually formulated for fountain pens. Either way, we're going to be taking a look, so let's go ahead and pop these bad boys open. First dip, and I really like the lines. First off, that looked really good, very solid, and I also am not getting any of the gray. This is an ash gray ink, kind of trying to do a thin line right here, and I'm getting a little bit of gray there, but the line work itself is absolutely gorgeous. Very nice solid black. I imagine when we start to use our brushes, we're going to get more of the actual gray that it shows on this little back card. I really like that, and so this is really kind of cool. I like how they give an example of how the ink looks, and something that's really nice about the Olivine, and again I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, it actually folds out, and you can see that this is part of their gemstone collection, which is really cool. I really want to try the Ornate. I really want to try that one. That one looks absolutely gorgeous. But I'm very happy with the one that we have, and we're going to test that out real quick. But I am noticing that these are really, really liquidy. These are really almost like a high flow ink. So this makes me think it's really meant for a fountain pen. Let's go ahead and bring out our brush, because I'm really curious to see how this is going to look. And ooh, again, very liquidy, but I'm starting to notice I get a little bit of that gray right there that it advertised. I actually really like that. You can see I can almost pull like a really good gradient, very natural gradient with the ink itself. And again, it does feel like an ink that isn't waterproof. I have used quite a few different non-waterproof inks before, and so this really does make me think that this is an ink that is not waterproof. Very, very, very liquidy. Very nice. I love that little subtle gray. We can really use that for a lot of different shadows. Like, for example, we can layer and also just kind of push it around and really create areas that aren't as black, to create a lot of good natural lighting and contrast. So very excited to test that out. You could hear my chair squeaking like crazy. Really excited to try out green one. I'm really, really excited. I keep wanting to say it's olive. I know it's not. It's Olivine. And again, I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, because I am known for mispronouncing so many things. But if it's anywhere close to this green, I am very, very excited. I would definitely say that this is not perfectly accurate. There's definitely, you know, it's not one-to-one, but that's a pretty good idea of what this ink looks like. So I really like this little card thing. So let's go ahead and try our green one. Pop it back open, and ooh, that looks cool. I'm excited. All right, we're gonna try it with our dip pen first, and the reason I'm gonna do that is because even like colored inks, when they are condensed and actually put into a single line and not a large area like with a dip pen, you'll actually see how much the color changes. So I'm curious to see what we're gonna get real quick. Okay, I am getting some of the green. Definitely a lot darker. Definitely more on the black side, I would say, especially if I make a large line like that. If I make a little line, I can kind of see a little bit of the green. So very interesting. Ooh, if I do like quick lines, I'm getting a lot more green. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. You can see here a little bit more green with the drop off, but we're not going to use this with a dip pen. We're going to use this with a brush. So let's go ahead and see how that looks. I'm very, very excited. So getting a dip. Ooh, that looks good. I am in love with this green. This looks so, so good. Like, look at that. Green is not one of my favorite colors, I would say. It's a color I really like, but my favorite colors are like red, black, white, blue, purple. I gotta say though, this green, I really am liking this green. It looks really, really good. You can see it layers really well. Like, I'm actually getting some darker tones with it, so we can even use this to do some natural shading. Very interesting, because it's giving me a bit of a Higgins vibe, where Higgins was that layering ink, but instead of struggling to get a solid color or pigment, I'm really able to get it straight off the back and then play with it. And again, I don't think this ink is waterproof, so I might be able to go in and actually pull this out and water it down and create even lighter tones. In fact, I'm going to grab some water just on my brush and apply it, and let's see. Yeah, look at that. I'm reactivating the ink and I'm actually pulling it. Now, of course, the ink is still wet. It hasn't had time to fully dry, but it's behaving a lot like the non-waterproof inks I have used in the past. So you can see right there. Very interesting. I really like this green. I really like how this looks. Now, we're actually going to put this to the side and let it fully dry. We're going to give it an hour, hour and a half to make sure that's at plenty of time. I got my cup of water. We're going to dip our brush in. Let's go ahead and run it over real quick. And right away we can see that no, this ink is not waterproof. It reactivated, which kind of leads me to believe that this definitely is an ink that's meant for a fountain pen. But still, I absolutely love the colors on here. And you could really do some watercolor techniques with this. I really am impressed with the different like colors and how beautiful it looks. You can see right here the lines are just bleeding right away, which is good to know for when we do our illustration, because now that helps me plan for it. I definitely know we can use this to our advantage, so I'm really excited to do the sketch and the illustration that we'll be doing in today's video. But yeah, this ink is not waterproof. Just kind of wish that was more apparent. I wish that was made more known on either the packaging of the ink or the website. Either way, I still absolutely love this shade of green. It is absolutely gorgeous. Just look at that. Amazing. And there we go. And now that we have our answer, we're going to go into the illustration for today, and I think you guys are really going to like this one. So I decided to change things up, and instead of illustrating Wrath, we're actually going to be illustrating one of his villains, Envy, the shape-shifting cat. Now, I do want to point out that I did this illustration, I want to say like maybe 2.5 years ago, and it doesn't currently accurately represent my ability to draw and do anatomy, let alone what I'm capable of now on an artistic level. But I really like this piece. I really like how it looks. I think it's a fun piece. I definitely want to redo it at some point, but we're going to actually do the piece now with our two inks. So we're going to be using our green and our black one. I definitely am going to have a lot of fun approaching this piece because it's going to be very different from what we normally do, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and roll that super time lapse. Inking this piece was fun, but it was a bit of a challenge at first. And that's because since the inks that I had to work with were not waterproof, I realized I couldn't do all my outlining and then my coloring, which is my normal thought process and my normal process in making art in general. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do the opposite. I'll do all my coloring and then I'll do my line art, and that way I won't have to worry about major bleeding. And when I started doing that, it just didn't work. It just didn't feel right. I just couldn't get it down. I just did not like it, and I realized that it would be very hard to actually go over the lines, especially with the deep layers of green that I wanted. So I decided to kind of cheat and use my favorite ink of all time, the Winsor Newton Black India ink. I did most of my line arts with it, I did some of the black fill-in work with it, and after that dried, I then went in with my ink. And I'll tell you, just switching it, it really helped my process. I don't know what it is that I can't do reverse coloring. I have to do my outlines. I think it's my background as an inker and how I approach art, but after I did that, it was just a smooth process. I had so much fun doing the different layers. I had so much fun watering down the inks. I had so much fun using them. This was a real fun piece. And I was also a little looser than normal. Usually when I do these pieces, I like to be a little more rigid. I like to focus more on lighting. I just had a lot of fun putting the tones down and playing with them. I had times to just wet my brush and spread the color around to see how it would react, and it was really fun overall. I love doing ink work and I love doing watercolor. I often say that watercolor and inking are sister mediums, and I often find that if you do ink work, you will do watercolor work because it's a natural progression. They're both liquid mediums, you use the same brushes for them, and you make a piece that looks good in black and white, you now want to make it look look good in color. And I had a lot of fun making this piece look good in color. And when it came to actually using the Black Ash ink, which I originally planned to use most of my black for, I still had a lot of fun working with it. It had a lot of subtle tones to it that really helped with the inking, and I really hope the camera is getting across the subtle tones because it was so much fun to put those in. Overall, making this piece was not challenging, a little frustrating at first, but super fun, super easy, and very loose and relaxed. Something I have to say I'll find watercolor to be just extremely relaxing and calming. I often find inking the same way, but with watercolor it's just the next step up of just chill and calming. I don't know what it is, it's just relaxing for me. But with all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the piece in all its finished glory. And we're done. And guys, I have to say, I really like how this piece came out. I had my doubts at first, but it really came along and really impressed me. And if you guys like this piece, it is available on my Artsy account for a $1 digital download. It's that first link in the description down below, and it really does help the channel out. And while I wouldn't say this is in my top 10 favorite pieces of the year, I wouldn't even say that this is an accurate representation of my current artistic level. I still love how this piece came out. I still chose to ink it because even though it's not perfect and it's not up to my normal standards, I still have a soft spot for how this piece came out. It just looks so fun, and I just love how crazy and chaotic this is. But we're going to put this piece to the side and talk about the actual ink itself because I got some things to say about them. So first off, I do want to apologize that I did not get a chance to test out the Monteverde USA ink in a fountain pen. It's pretty clear, at least to me, that this is really meant for a fountain pen, but guys, I don't do calligraphy. I'm not really a fountain pen kind of guy. I'm a dip pen and brush kind of guy, so that's how I approach them. So we will not be judging them on how they work in a fountain pen, so if that's what you were looking for, I do apologize. But with that said, I really like these inks. These inks are really good, and while I'm not normally a fan of non-waterproof inks, I think the fact they offer just that little discoloration really helps. Just focusing on the black ink, I actually like how it is black ash, how it has that subtle gray, so it's really good for layering, and it's also really good for just adding that subtle hue difference. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, you rated Higgins really low, and it did the same thing. No, Higgins was very, very low pigmented. While this, you have the option to water it down and also get a strong pigment from the start and then layer upon it. So it actually does what Higgins should have done a little better, and I think that's because this isn't waterproof. You're able to play with it a lot more. I am a big fan of Winsor Newton's non-waterproof ink. I think it's one of my favorite non-waterproof inks, but the fact that this one just has that little bit of gray in there and it's so natural and it's so subtle, it really helps to make it stand out. Other non-waterproof fountain inks that I've seen that are black, they tend to have a weird blue or very off black kind of coloring to it when you use it with a brush. Here, that wasn't the case. It really worked that little gray just to kind of help give it that. And then I know I was mostly going to focus on this ink. That was kind of my idea for this video, but I gotta say, the Ulvine, and again, I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing this because I suck at pronunciation, I really like this. This is probably one of my favorite shade of greens I've ever used. It is gorgeous. I love the different tones we got. I love the variety of shade. I love the fact that we could mix water with it to create different tones. Like, this was a really fun ink to use, and while I did kind of have to go back on my original plan, which was just to color this whole piece and then do the line work, I'm sorry guys, my brain just does not work that way. I still really like using this ink. I really enjoyed watering down. I really enjoyed layering it. This was just a fun ink to use, and I would really look at them more as watercolor inks than actual fountain pen inks or just normal drawing ink. But if you guys want to give this a try, please do. So I'm actually going to rank these a 8 out of 10. I think that they have a really good price range. I think they have a really good bottle design. I think they're really good high quality. I think you get a good amount, especially for the price. And the only reason it's going to get that 8 is just because I can definitely see in some instances where it can be a little challenging. For me, I'm experienced with these kind of tools and techniques that it wasn't too much of a problem for me, so I was able to really work with them. And I have used higher quality watercolor inks. I will definitely say a lot of the P.H. Martin's watercolor inks are phenomenal, and the Winsor & Newton non-waterproof India ink is my favorite. So that's why I'm just going to bump it down from what would normally be like a 10 just to an 8. I feel like because there are some slightly better options out there you can go with, but if you're looking for very specific tones, if you're looking for something that will work with a fountain pen, if you're looking for something that's going to give you that watercolor feel, I would definitely recommend these. These are really fun, but that's my opinion. I love to hear your guys' in the comment section down below, so please let me know what you guys think, both of the ink, my review, and of the art. Do you guys like it? Do you hate it? What are things I can improve on? Your feedback really helps me not only become a better artist, but a better content creator. But that's everything for today. My name is Jay Rod of Balboa Productions. I draw power my own soul, and please subscribe to the channel if you love art and animation-based content. Thank you all for watching.